You might add a book because, you're like, okay, I'm going to step outside my box and I'm going to read something different and new. But because you're in a fevered state, hey everyone, welcome back. I hope all is well. So we are almost halfway through the year, and the last couple of weeks I have been adding some books to my TBR. And of course, right, you see what's already on the shelf. And I thought to myself, it's time for me to unshelve some of these because I know I'm not going to read them. I'm sure many of us have caught the bookish fever when you're adding books that you know you're not going to read, okay? Because you have this fever, you're delusional. You might add a book just for the pretty cover, but the synopsis is trash, okay? Or you're adding a book that you're tired of reading the same trope. You need a break. You might add a book because, you're like, okay, I'm going to step outside my box and I'm going to read something different and new, which is not a bad thing, okay? But because you're in a fevered state, you might not be completely thinking this edition through. So I'm going to be walking you guys through the books that I unshelved. So my list started off with 137 books on it. And I know there are people out there with hundreds, if not thousands, of books on their TBR. And my itsy bitsy teeny weensy yellow polka dot bikini, that y'all remember that commercial back in the day? I feel like, was it a Fanta commercial? Teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini that she wore for the first time today. And itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini that she wore for the first time today. I know that my TBR is not nada compared to theirs, but I am not a fan of letting my TBR get out of control that way, because sometimes when you have too many options, you get caught up or can be susceptible to a reading slump because you can't decide what to read. You have too many options, and then that could instigate you going to look for more books to add, and it just becomes a cycle, shelve and repeat. The first book I unshelved was Unleashing the Storm by Shay Rucker. I enjoyed the first book in the series. It follows a group of gritty, offbeat, highly armed individuals as they take jobs saving people and ridding the world of bad guys. Each book follows a brood member and his love interest. So I have picked up this book several times digitally, and I keep putting it down. The main reason I'm removing it is because I've moved away from romances that are heavy on crime or in real life political type action. A good example of this is like the mafia books, okay? And you learning about this operation, and the male main character has to strategize, how to maneuver and get to this person. It's just, there's nothing wrong with that. And I do read a lot of fantasy where there's a political theme as well, but it's fantasy. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully y'all know what I mean. I want to read with action, okay, but not that kind of action. And that's why I am still on, well, one of the reasons why I'm still on hiatus from mafia romances. Now, it would be different if the plot of the book was mainly focused on action and strategic maneuvering a situation. But if it's a romance, but it's heavy on those things, like it's distracting me. I think that's what I mean. It's distracting me from the romance. I don't want to be distracted. This next book broke my heart to remove, and it is When Dying is Done. It's the final book of the Shivers and Sins series, and I have been waiting for the conclusion of this series since 2017. I am a patient reader, y'all. I know it takes time for a sequel to be released, but my hope has diminished. There's not even a cover for this book. I think the author was going through some things from the posts that she had made on her website until she didn't. She stopped making blog posts about her, writing progress for the book. Things seem to like kind of go downhill during COVID, and I can definitely, right? I'm sure we all can understand that. But she stopped again writing on her blog on her website, and I would faithfully check for new updates. And about 2 years ago on Facebook, because I followed her on Facebook, she made a post that she was picking up her writing pen again and to be patient with her, but she was working on the final book again. But then there was silence. This series has me in a chokehold because of how she navigated the dark and authentic relationship between the main characters. I think she did a great job of not romanticizing what goes on between the main characters. She says it best herself. The light at the bottom of this rabbit hole is tinted obsidian, and I put the characters in this story through the ringer. Not for the faint-hearted, this read explores the dark side of obsession in all its forms. Adults only from this point. Strap in and buckle up. Keep your hands and feet inside the ride at all times, because the teeth lurking ahead are razor sharp, and the blood they seek might be yours. Please do not attempt to exert your human morals on the fictional beasts you will meet. They'll just laugh while they rip you to shreds. If I catch wind that this book has a release date, it will be back on the TBR in a heartbeat. Along with the Shivers and Sins series, Horrorscape is another one I found over a decade ago. I guess I was maybe going through something at the time. I might actually be still going through it. I don't know. Horrorscape was another dark series about a girl trying to survive her stalker after meeting him in high school. The series spans several years, and book 4 ended their story. When the author announced there would be a 5th book, and I believe it was supposed to maybe focus on the couple from a different perspective, maybe from the supporting characters, I figured why not add it. I had already been through so much with the main female character. And I know that sounds maybe weird, like, but that's just what the thought was at the time. But now I am fine with leaving their story where it lies. It's a story that forever haunts me to this day. So, again, book 4 ended with a conclusion for the main characters versus Shivers and Sands. I don't have a conclusion for those main characters. So that's why, like I said, if I catch when it's gonna actually be released, I will be reading that one. Always, I've actually read. I only still have it on the TBR as a reminder to read the second book, but the author has not released it, and there's no information out there that she's going to continue the series. So it's another one that has to go. Several books on this list are redundant in their plot. Most of them are romanticities. Now, I love me a romanticy, but some of these are so similar that it's time to remove some of them, and that starts with From Blood and Ash. Hidden Pictures is a horror mystery thriller about a woman who takes a job as a nanny, and her 5-year-old charge, Teddy, starts to draw some disturbing pictures. These pictures are of a woman being unalived, and the main character, Mallory, she believes that there is some type of supernatural influence over Teddy and his artwork. I've actually checked this book out previously, and my mom got to it before I had to turn it back in. And I'm removing it from my TBR because she told me that it didn't make any sense at the end. And now I'm not very motivated to pick the book up again. I know, you should read a book for yourself and make that judgment call yourself, but I trust my mom's feedback. I will say I thought it was pretty cool because the book had pictures every so often of Teddy's drawings. I thought that was a cool addition to the book. My niece did as well, the youngest one, because she likes to come over here, right, and be in my bookshelf, okay, moving my crystals and everything. And when I had Hidden Pictures, that was one of the books she took off the bookshelf, and she saw the pictures, and she's like, oh, what does this mean? Why would someone draw this? And she's just at that point, she's 4, she'll be 5 soon, where she's asking questions, and you take time to explain, and like she's actually listening and absorbing, which I think is really cool. But anyway, I don't think I'm going to be reading Hidden Pictures. I am not a fan of second chances in most areas of my life. And I knew when I added Forget Me Not, I was giving a chance to a book that I likely wasn't going to read. Second chance tropes are not my favoritist. Is that a word? Favoritist? So that's why I'm removing this. I added I Feed Her to the Beast, and the beast is me because of 2 things. The cover, and that it is a horror book. This is another read I keep scrolling past, and it's just lost its gory sparkle for me. The Sugar Jar is a self-help book. When I added this, I wanted to be one of those people who would read a self-help book, take notes, be like so inspired, and put the advice and the lessons they learned into action. Now, I do read spiritual and metaphysical books, which are a form of self-help, but to me, they're different. The times in my life when I've needed to work through things and learn has always been through contemplation, experiences, and those voices of wisdom in my life that I know I can trust. And those things have always helped in my growth. I just don't think I'm going to be in, I'm not one of those people that can sit down and read a self-help book and be inspired. So these next couple I'm going to power through: A Kingdom of Stars and Shadow, which is a romantasy; A Southern Book Club's Guide to Vampires. I have checked this book out previously. I would pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down. And I think the pacing was just a bit too slow for me. Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I still have not read a Stephen King book. The one I checked out last year, I Like It Darker. I'm gonna read that. And I've just decided that Fairy Tale is not gonna be my first read from Stephen King. The Djinn Waits 100 Years, another one I've checked out, and the pacing was too slow for me. A Tempest of Tea, I added it really because of the vampires present in it, but my second and third thoughts, I'm really not interested in the plot anymore. Same with Midnight Feast. Cinderella is Dead and Their Vicious Games were added when I was reading a lot of YA books, and there's still a lot on my TBR that are YA aged, but I'm not really interested in reading these two anymore. And here are some honorable mentions. Alright, so I started with 137 and was left with 103. Now, for those of you that counted, yes, I did add a book while getting rid of some other ones. But you know, look, they be trying to entice you, pull you in with those Goodreads banners. The book I added is a sci-fi book. Okay, you know, if you know, you know. I'm glad to have done this because I have made more room for books that are coming out the latter half of the year. I really like to keep my TBR under or at 200 for the reasons I mentioned before. Of course, let me know down below if any of the ones I removed you've read and if I should give them a second chance. As always, thank you so much for tuning in for another video. And until next time, stay safe, be blessed, and I'll see you in the next one.